Welcome to the How to Write a Book podcast. I'm Maciel, writer, certified book coach, and your go-to guide for beating writer's block and getting your book done. Master the art of pitching, publishing, and thriving. Your author journey starts here. For more resources, tips, and support, visit howtowriteabookpodcast.com. So grab a notebook, open that document, and let's get writing. All right, and welcome back to the How to Write a Book podcast. I have with me Robert A. Lane. Hey, Robert, how are you doing?
Great. I'm excited to be here on your podcast. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a guest.
Oh, yeah. No, I love your presence. We met a while ago, especially with your unique services, which I'm excited to get into. And you just have a lovely presence on the screen. You're like very comfortable, and I'm sure that's how when authors want to come to you, they feel just like easing into this process. So, let's go ahead and dive in. Can you please tell everyone about yourself and what you do?
Sure. I'm an audiobook coach and producer, and I focus on helping nonfiction authors narrate their own audiobooks. So if you're a nonfiction author and you have a book that's published, but it's not in audiobook form, I have an audiobook coaching program, which is called Your Book, Your Voice. And it's a 6-week program where I teach you how to set up your own recording space. And then we dive into what it takes to do a great audiobook narration, to be compelling and engaging from opening credits to closing credits. And then the next part of the process is there is editing that's involved once your audiobook is being recorded. And that is also what I provide. So I do all the audio editing for your audiobook, make sure it sounds good, it's clean, but most importantly, meets the exact specifications for publication. And then I help you set up your publication account to be published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. And then I do all the uploading for you. So I take your audiobook files and do all the uploading because I want to make sure that your audio files are great, that there's no rejections, that everything is perfect so that your audiobook is done correctly the first time. And that's a general overview about what I do.
I love that. Now, I'm someone who has worked with authors before on some audio uploads. Now, I know firsthand the process that it can entail, but can you explain why an author would rather, choose a coach than kind of DIY? Because I 100% agree with what you do.
Sure. Just like with hiring a book coach or any other type of coach, audiobook coach is you really have somebody there to be your accountability partner, your support system, your guide, your mentor, and really helping you through the process because it is a process of creating an audiobook. I've had authors come to me who have tried to do it themselves, but even when you go and try to set up your publishing account in ACX to be published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple, that alone can be really overwhelming. And I've also had authors who have even gone to other professional studios, yet their audiobook was rejected because there were issues. Their specifications were not met. And if they're not met, you will be rejected. So that's another thing that does occur. Plus, as a coach, being there to help you step by step through the process and making it as simple and easy for you. And my job is to get you just to do a great narration. Give your authenticity, give your best personality that's out there that will tell your book in the way that you want it to be heard. Which is why I'm a big advocate of all nonfiction authors really do need to narrate your own audiobook because nobody can speak your story better than you. You lived it, you breathed it, it's your story. And that's what makes you unique by telling your own story. So my job as a coach is to make sure that story is told the best that it can possibly be told and to make the process as simple and easy as possible.
I love that. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That is something that we hone in here on the podcast, which is only you can tell your story, and especially if it's coming from a nonfiction place. So it's true to your heart, it's your experience or a memoir. I mean, who better than the person who was actually writing it that can speak it? 100%. Now, I'm going to ask you about tips later, but first, I would like to rewind us. I know that you kind of have an interesting background, kind of where you came from before you started coaching. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey all the way to here?
Sure. Um, my career, I spent 30 plus years working in the entertainment industry. Uh, I started off in radio. I mean, audio's kind of been my thing all my life, which makes sense for what I do now. But I started off working at a radio station, and then from there, I went through a variety of different facets of the business. On camera, off camera, corporate world. Audio editing, of course. I've done a lot of audio editing and post production for film and TV. I still have an audio production business that I do for that type of business, just to keep my hands in the entertainment world. But yeah, so the last part of my career, I worked at 20th Century Fox in Los Angeles on the studio lot. But that was more on the corporate side. I was a feature project manager, so I oversaw the production of the current, new releases, and then all their legacy features, turning their movies into audio files for streaming. So that was the department that I was in. So if you're
Oh,
watching a Fox movie, I probably was the person who helped get that put together for you.
I love that. It's funny because I remember that's kind of how we originally connected. Was that I'm from production, as well, and so I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, you're from production." It just that instant friendship of like I kind of have an idea as to where you've been. So that was awesome. So what made you say, I want to help authors bring their voices to their audiobooks? What was that turning point for you?
I think the turning point really was when the Disney Fox deal went down, and that's where Disney basically bought Fox. Almost everything, but movies, television, and all that was included in the deal. So we had a heads up of wondering whether we will have jobs or not.
Mm.
And so when Disney came in, they pretty much decimated our department, ripped it apart, and I was on the first round of firings.
Ouch. Oh man.
But it really was a blessing in disguise, because it gave me an opportunity now to plan on doing something that would feel more fulfilling for me. I mean, I've been working in the business 30 plus years. So it was actually a good thing. And honestly, I had no desire to work for Disney anyway, so it all worked out. And so I decided to pursue a coaching aspect. And so I started Robert Lane Coaching, and it started off as career coaching and life coaching, and which led to me writing my book, my nonfiction
Mm.
book, which is called Lights Action You. Here it is, actually.
I love
Lights
it.
Action You.
I love your cover. It's a good cover.
Thank you. It's because people were asking me, hey, oh, you worked in the business, you probably have a ton of stories. And I was like, well, I guess, yeah, I probably do. But since I was doing coaching, I just didn't want to write, a typical self-help book or just a memoir. So I combined the two. So with each story and experience that I share in the book from working in the entertainment world, I tie in a concept or a lesson or a tool or technique from career coaching and life coaching. So there's something to be learned, and there's something that I wanted the readers to get from it. Not just an entertaining story, but something of value. So that was the catalyst for writing the book, which, of course, being an audio guy, had to turn it into an audiobook. So I, studied and went through the process of how to do it and how to do it correctly, which then authors started to approach me and say, hey, I want to turn my book into an audiobook. How'd you do that? So I thought, you know what, there is definitely a need for this. And so I expanded what I do with Robert Lane Coaching and created the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. So the way the business is set up now in regards to the life coaching and career coaching aspect, I still do that, but I do that as a keynote speaker. And
Oh,
so I go around and I do speaking engagements and that kind of thing so that I can still help people from that aspect of it. But when it comes to the one-on-one coaching that I do, that's dedicated for authors and helping them create their audiobook.
That's great. I love the progression of, kind of like, here's your expertise. Now you're kind of going into coaching. Now you're spreading that wealth of knowledge and now you're here. I mean, that's such like a lovely journey. You're kind of following your passions and where you can help people. And I love that you are looking for something to fulfill you after, being in the other side of production for so long. That's amazing. Speaking of things that you've accomplished, I know that I believe you've been highlighted in some recent news and announcements recently. Do you mind sharing some of those with the audience?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be featured in some great magazines like CEO Weekly. Of course, now I'm going to draw a blank.
Well,
But there have been several articles that have been done about Robert Lane Coaching and about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. And, and it really talks about how important it is for nonfiction authors to really be the one to narrate their own audiobook, because as I mentioned before, there's nobody who can tell that story better than the author. And a lot of things that I do encounter with authors that I work with, it's fairly common, and that is people are a little hesitant about wanting to narrate their own audiobook because they don't like their voice, or they don't feel that they sound good, or that they're even able to do a great narration. And that is a false belief, because you do have a great voice. And the one thing I really wanted to mention is that your author brand, you are the brand. Everything about you encompasses who you are as an author. The way you were brought up, your personality, your sense of humor, the way you communicate, and especially your voice. That's all part of your author brand. And that author brand is what makes you unique. And that's what makes you stand out in a crowd. So that's why when you wrote your book, your voice is in your written word. Now you're just bringing it to life in your own voice so that others can hear you tell your story the way you want it to be heard.
oh, I love that. All right, this interview's over. That was amazing. Let's go. Just kidding. That was fantastic. And for everyone listening, that is what's so important. That's the driving force. Your voice, your message, bringing yourself forward to connect with other people who need to hear you. Oh, Robert, you put it together so well. I couldn't have said it even better. Thank you for sharing that. That was uplifting to me. I'm sure it's gonna be uplifting to others as well. Um, Now, I would love to talk about some of the tips, and then for the news outlets that we can't quite remember right now, follow Robert on LinkedIn. I see you posting on there with all your amazing news stuff, so everyone follow him on there. So tips for authors, before we get into like the self-publishing side and any publishing side that you've done, um, where can an author start looking to you in their process? They're starting to think about their book, or maybe they're close to publishing. Where do authors typically reach out to you?
Yeah, it's best for an author that they're on the tail end of getting their book done. So if your book is done, your manuscript is done, and you've submitted it for formatting, and you're getting your cover design and doing all that part of it, you can start the audiobook process. Because once your manuscript is done and it's locked in, then we can start to work. Because I need that manuscript to make sure that when I'm doing my editing and when I'm listening to your narration, I follow along, word for word. So
Nice.
having your book almost ready for publishing, that's a great time. If your book is already published, perfect. And one more thing that just to think about, if you've already published a book, maybe you've published a book a year ago or 2 years ago or 10 years ago, turn it to an audiobook.
Yeah.
That is such a great way to do a relaunch of your book and put it out there and expand it to an audience that may not have discovered you yet. So, an old book is a great book to turn into an audiobook, definitely.
Yeah. And audio is, I think, now on the rise more than ever. I mean, podcasts like listeners have like tripled in the past like year or
Oh, yeah.
something like that. Yeah. So where now that we kind of know, okay, like you're getting close to finishing your book, you're maybe on the cover. Now, what's the process like overall when they reach out to you? What can they expect?
Sure. The very first thing is to schedule a call with me, just a quick audiobook consultation call. I do that with every single author because I don't believe in just sending you a landing page that you scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and then say, okay, give me your credit card. That's very impersonal, and a book, especially a nonfiction book, is very personal. And so I really like to talk to the authors first, find out more about their book, what they want to do with their audiobook, maybe their marketing strategies, and just really have a connection, because we're going to be working together for at least 6 weeks to do this program. And I want the author to feel comfortable with me as much as I want to feel comfortable with the author. So I think establishing a connection that way is really, really important. So that's the first step. And then we go over the details about what the audiobook coaching program is. And it's basically divided up into 3 basic pillars. The first is setup and preparation. And so I teach the author how to set up their own recording space. They could be in their home office, it could be in their bedroom. I've had authors set up in their walk-in closet. It's like, oh, the clothes is great. It's going to be really, but
That's neat.
but the bottom line is setting up your space in somewhere that's comfortable. That's important. And so I provide you with the equipment, professional equipment, microphone, headphones. It's part of the program, and it's yours to keep. You don't send it back to me. It's yours. So that's just part of it. And I'm a firm believer of not cutting corners. You got to do it right.
Yeah.
So, I don't send you some cheapy, $50, $100 mic. Like, I'm giving you the good stuff. I'm giving you the stuff that podcasters use, like the good stuff, because this is your author brand. These are your products. You're not going to skimp on your products, right? You want it to be the best it can be. So, and then I do one-on-one coaching. We meet every week. I also have video lessons that are very methodical, that take you step by step through all the process of setting up your recording space, how to label your audio files so that you know exactly what they are, how to set up your account in ACX to be published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple, and just walk you through every step of the process. And one of the most important aspects of the coaching program is mindset. The very first video lesson is a mindset exercise, because you have to be in the right frame of mind before you even think about hitting that record button.
Yeah.
You need to be present. You need to be in the moment. You can't worry about the past. You can't worry about the future. You got to be focused in the now. And that's really important. I mean, it's similar, again, with writing a book. You've got to be in your zone. And that's super important. Then the second pillar, of course, is talking about, how to do a great narration. And we really dive deep into that. And then the third part is about marketing strategies. And while you're recording your audiobook, you're sending your audio files to me to edit. So the coaching hat comes off, the audio editor's hat goes on, and I go through every piece of audio in real time with a fine-tooth comb. And I listen for everything. If there's a mouth noise I can remove, I remove it. If there is something that, if there's a noise in the background, I will let the author know and say, hey, can you redo this line? So they'll redo it, send it back to me, I insert it in, not a problem. So there's a logical process with how this all goes together. And so I'll edit the files, make sure they sound great, upload the files for them. And then once they're all done, I send the final mastered audio files back to the author, because it's theirs 100%. They own it 100%. And, archive it. Don't lose it. That's your audiobook now.
Don't lose it. Absolutely. That's amazing. And then what happens after that?
So when they're sending their audio files to me, then we start talking about marketing strategies. And it's similar to when you launch your book. Put together a launch team, do some grassroots marketing. Maybe you want to do some advertising. Maybe you want to, start thinking about putting together some specials. Buy my audiobook and get my ebook for 99 cents, or, buy my audiobook and I'll send you an autographed copy of my paperback. I mean, there's so many things that you can do to put yourself out there and to market, this great audiobook that you have. And another great thing is, and I tell this to the authors at the beginning, is share your journey.
Oh, yeah.
post it on social media, put it out there, let people know that hey, I'm recording this audiobook and it's in my own voice. I'm telling my story. You know, to do a reel or or a carousel post of sitting at your desk with your microphone and maybe even reading or narrating a clip just so
Oh,
that people can see what the process is. And it's exciting, to share behind the scenes. And that's another thing that draws a lot of excitement, especially when you get closer to launch day.
I love that. Yeah. And how long, more or less, does this take, the processing, or does it depend on the author and their speed?
Um, the program is designed where you can go through the entire program in 6 weeks. That's what it's designed for. However,
Mm.
I understand life happens.
Yeah.
And I have had authors who are really busy, like they travel a lot, they have meetings and they're doing a lot of other things. Totally understandable. So there is flexibility. So I don't want any author to feel the pressure of, oh, we're coming up to 6 weeks and I still got 3 more chapters to do. What am I going to do?
Mhm.
Pressure's off. Pressure's off. I will work with you until your book is done, and that's it. Bottom
That's,
line. So you're doing the work. That's great. Things come up, no problem. If
yeah.
it takes longer than 6 weeks, not a problem. If it takes 8 or 10 weeks, not a problem. I will work with you until your book is ready and uploaded for publishing.
That is awesome. And it's so cool to be learning like basically a whole new skill set
Yeah.
underneath this experienced coach. Now, I want to know about some of this your students, their progress, but more specifically, um, at the end of your students' journey, was there anybody that like got results that surprised you or something that kind of came out of the blue because they produced and narrate an audiobook?
Uh, you know, I'll tell you what. I don't know if well, maybe it is a surprise. Maybe it is a surprise. I listen to authors and audiobooks all the time. I'm editing, and working on these books all the time. So when I'm in editor's mode, I'm listening for specific things. So I'm not really focused on the story itself because this is the technical piece. But I have to do a final output of their chapter or whatever section of the book that I'm working on. So that's where I really get to listen. And I tell you, every time I am sucked into their story every time. And that is a testament to the author about how great that they're doing their narration. If it sounds conversational and it sounds authentic and I'm getting involved in the story and I'm an empath, so I'm feeling all the emotion that they're talking about. It's like, wow, this is great. That is such a reward for me as a coach to hear this, especially with someone who's like really oh, I don't know
Oh
if
yeah.
I can do this. I don't know. I don't like my voice. And then, but once they get into it, oh, they're loving it. And then, I'll listen to a chapter and I'll purposely not read ahead since I have the manuscript because I want to hear them tell the story. So I'll get back to them and go, where's your next chapter? I want to know what happens next. Get it over. I want to hear. But it's really really rewarding, and I think the authors are really surprised once they hear the final product. I've had one author who says, I listen to my audiobook and it just makes me cry every time.
Oh.
Because and her story is about how she went through her journey of cancer, and that's pretty intense. Just being able to hear these stories and hearing their emotion, and that's where the intangibles. This is the big secret sauce of doing a great audiobook. The intangibles, the things you can't physically touch, but you emotionally feel. Your energy, your emotion. There are emotional arcs, just like with any story, that are in your audiobook. And when you bring that out, that's what makes an audiobook from just being mediocre to one that's just fantastic, because that emotion is there. And the person who's listening to that audiobook is so vested in hearing you as the author tell that story, they will be on the edge of their seat listening because you're sharing your authenticity. And again, that's how your author brand stands out, because everybody's unique. No one can replicate you.
Exactly. And just briefly touching into a more taboo topic of I feel like even though, AI can do a lot of stuff for us like manage our calendars, um, that human touch, it's just vastly different, vastly different. Do you have any thoughts that you want to share on that?
Absolutely. I tell nonfiction authors, again, you need to narrate your own audiobook, not another narrator, no matter how great they are. I mean, I would have loved to have, oh, I don't know, Morgan Freeman narrate my audiobook. He'd be great. But you know what? Doesn't matter how great that narrator is, it's still their interpretation, not yours. They're going to emphasize words or phrases or concepts in a way that maybe you're like, I wouldn't have said it that way. I wouldn't have expressed it that way. That's why it's so important for the nonfiction author to tell their story in their own voice. And in regards to AI, it's AI, yeah. Don't do it.
Yeah, that's
Don't
cool.
do it, because you're cheapening your author brand. That is a misrepresentation of who you are. Even if you go to one of those companies, oh, we'll do voice cloning. It's not the same. It's not you. And there are subtleties and slight nuances that only the human voice can bring out. Doesn't matter how great, oh, that sounded good, but you know what? It's not you. It's not you. You're cheapening your author brand, and you're actually lessening your credibility by doing that. You don't want to do that. You've worked too hard. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into creating this great book that you've written and published. Why would you cheapen your audiobook like that?
Hmm.
Don't cheapen your brand. Don't make people question your expertise.
Yeah.
Be high quality all the way.
I love that. High quality. You are your brand, so don't cheapen you or your brand. Absolutely. And speaking of those nuances, yeah, you can kind of hear that too when you just watch like a spoof video with some voice clone. You can hear the weird,
Yeah.
lifts, and I'm just like, that sounded weird. But speaking of brand, you also have your own brand of books. So I would love to kind of pivot and talk about, the stuff that you've published. Can you tell us about your work?
Well, Lights Action You was my first book that I published, and the process was I wanted to do something, like I mentioned about sharing my memoirs, but again, making it where someone can take something more out of it than just a story. So I actually hired a book coach, and because hey, they can do something better than I can, and that again, getting back to coaching, is don't be afraid to get help. You know, uh, that's that's the key. That's so crucial, and I have no regrets. It was a great investment. As an author brand, I am the business, right? And okay, you published a book. You are now an entrepreneur. Embrace it. Love
Yeah.
it. And I say this all the time. You are the CEO of you. So the decisions that you make sure they're great decisions to move your business forward. And so hiring a book coach was great. And then through that book coach, I got in touch with a great editor, formatter, cover designer, all of that stuff, to make sure that the book that I publish is professional. It looks great. It's formatted properly. You can put traditional publisher, self-publisher, two books next to each other, and you can't even tell the difference.
Yeah.
That's the goal. That's the goal. So
Yeah.
that process was really great, and that's why I highly recommend any author, if get the help and get a coach, get the people that can do things better than you, so that you can put out the best product. It's just like athletes. The best athletes in the world, they have coaches. They have mindset coaches,
Mhm.
because mindset, again, is so important. They're not there to teach them how to do layups or how to throw a touchdown pass. No, they already have coaches, and they've already spent hours and hours doing that. But they have these other coaches to help them stay focused and to be on top of their game. And that's why coaching is so important.
Absolutely. 100% agree. So everyone out there, coaching, I'm a book coach, you're an audio coach. Together, you can conquer the world.
That's right.
Exactly. So I would love you talk about mindset. Now,
Yes.
what was your mindset before you wrote the book? You already had experience. People were telling you, "Oh, you should write a book about this." What was your mindset before you started getting a book coach, and then after the process?
Well, I decided I wanted to write a book. My first instinct was to seek out a book coach because I knew that I can sit and try to write it, but how do you really formulate it? How do you outline it? How do you prep? There's so much prep that's involved before you start the actual writing. And I wanted help and guidance for that. So it's like I'm going to just open myself up to receive advice and to work with people who know what they're doing and who are better at it than I am. And you learn through the process, of course. So that was a great experience, and that helped tremendously because it helped me organize everything and to figure out, well, what stories do I talk about? And how does that tie into what I want to share in regards to a lesson or a tool or technique that I want to teach? And so that really helped to be able to organize all those thoughts. So, and another thing is, and I think we all hit this, and that's imposter syndrome. Like, can
Yes.
I really write a book? Can I really do this?
Mhm.
Just like, can I really narrate my own audio book? And the answer, of course, is yes,
Mhm.
you can. You
Yes.
just need to have confidence and you need to believe in yourself and you need to know that you can. You absolutely can. You can write that book and you can narrate that book. You just need to change your thought process. I say you got to get rid of the bad fuel and you got to put in the good fuel
Yeah.
because what runs and fuels and powers your subconscious are your habits and your belief system. So if you believe you can't do something, your subconscious is going to say, "Oh, okay, I guess you can't."
Right.
But no, let's get rid of that because that's a false belief. Let's put in the good fuel. And I tell my authors, I want you to write 10 affirmations about you and about your voice and about narrating. Just write them out. I want you to write them out and you're going to print it out and you're going to post it by your computer, post it on the bathroom mirror, post it on the refrigerator. And I want you to read it and not just read it. You got to read it until you feel it. And once you feel it, then you believe it. And once you believe it, there's that good fuel that's going to your subconscious saying, yeah, I can narrate my own audiobook. I am a great narrator. I love my voice. And just, make a list of 10 of those and say it until you believe it. And when you believe it, now you're in your zone. So now you can hit that record button.
I love that. Now, is that what you did? You said that we all face imposter syndrome. During your journey, is that what you did, or did you feel like you had different tips, different techniques in addition to that, so you could pivot and be like, "Okay, I am gonna do this."
One of the things that I did through the book writing process was I got together with a couple other authors that were in the program that I was in, and we would get together on our own and do a little, evening. I guess it wouldn't be coffee chat; it'd probably be drink chat. uh, but we would share. Each of us would share a chapter that we just worked on, and then get feedback. And so it was great because it was like having an accountability partner and also to get constructive feedback from other authors who, will say, hey, that was a great story, but maybe express it this way, or I have an idea, or do you want to say it that way, or whatever, So it's supportive, and that's what was really key through that process, and that also helped, keep that imposter syndrome at bay because we know that we're moving forward and we're creating and we have this support, and that's just really, really important.
Yeah, it's so important, especially if you have the book coach, you have supportive friends. It can make a big difference. So
Yes.
I'm so glad that you did that for yourself, and in turn, you did that for your readers because then you finished your book. Amazing. Now, I would love to go a little bit into the nuts and bolts. Every book coach is a little bit different in their process. So, can you explain to us what was your outlining, drafting, and editing process like for you?
So the outlining process was, well, the book coach, he kind of called it like the Spider-Man. Uh, so here's your book, and then you have these offshoots of, it's almost like a brain dump. You
Nice.
just let it flow. Just, what stories do I want to talk about? Well, there's this and this and this and this and this, and then you start to categorize them and start to see, oh, this would fit good here, this would fit good there. And then you also start to see, well, I don't know if that story really fits. And you start to see these things. You start, and when you write it out on paper and you see this, crazy map of all these things, it really does help. And then you organize it and then start putting it into a sequence. And then it's like, all right, now I'm starting to see a flow. Now I'm starting to see, what story will be in what chapter and how that goes from, one story to the next and to the next. I even wrote a chapter that I didn't even put in the book because
Oh,
I felt like it didn't fit. So there's a secret chapter. Maybe I'll publish it someday.
yeah, that's cool. Love that.
But that was super helpful in regards to the outlining process, because then it helped me organize. And then you just took, each experience and story at a time and just started writing. And then not worrying too much about going back and doing all the self-editing. Let's just get it out there. Let's get it on paper and then go back. Give it a chance to breathe and give your mind a chance to, step away and then go back and then reread it and then see, oh, yeah, maybe I can say a little bit differently, and then you make your adjustments. So, and then after the self editing process, then I do send it to an editor because I want a professional to do the editing, and that's crucial. And, my advice to any author is, hire a team of people that's going to help you create a great book, proofreaders, story developers, editors, book coaches, formatters, all those people, cover designers, those are all crucial pieces of the puzzle that you need to create a great book. So again, don't be afraid, because remember, you are the CEO of you. So make those business decisions that will help advance and move your author brand forward. And those are the great things to do.
Yeah, and that is so important that you've said that, because as we create our own books and we write, um, sometimes we're a little bit too close and we need those other outside perspectives and
Yes.
eyeballs, to be like, maybe not this, but yes, maybe this. Love where you're going with it. That was awesome. Now, when you got your edits, did you feel discouragement at all when you got your feedback back? And how did you deal with that?
Honestly, I don't think I was discouraged at all, because I came with the mindset of, this is the editing process.
Mhm.
That's what it is. That's what it's going to be. So the editor is going to uh, do their job. And if it's something that I like, great. 9 out of 10 times, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's definitely better. They're not changing the story. They're not reworking everything, and I think I talked to about 5 different editors before I chose the one that I wanted to work with. And I think that's another good thing to do, because one editor, he was good, but he was like he wanted just to like rip everything apart and change everything. It's like, well, that's not me. That's not how I speak. That you're removing my authenticity. you're changing my author brand, so that's not going to work. So I wanted to work with somebody who was good at what they do, but not try to change the story. But I was very open to the suggestions, and there were some things that maybe the editor had some questions on, and then I would explain, this is why I say it this way. There's a reason for it. And then it's like, oh, I get it. But it was a really good experience. I didn't have any issues.
That's fantastic. For everyone who, as we encourage people to get their editors, what was it, maybe one or two green flags that you're like, this is the right editor for me, that, maybe other authors can look for when they look for their editors?
Um, just like with the coach,
Mhm.
do you resonate with them? Do you feel comfortable working with them? Do you like their personality? Do you like their vibe? Usually we would have a phone call, when I was talking to editors, and we just get on a phone call and just, see how it feels. And they would take a chapter and send me a sample. So that was another way of being able to see how it would work. And I liked how this editor did her sample edit. And I was like, oh yeah, that's good. And she was really great. She had a great personality. and I just really enjoyed working with her. So, that's really how it all came about.
That's awesome. That's great. So just needing that vibe,
Yeah.
basically, like, oh, we get along. Now, as you were writing your book, I'm assuming that you knew that you were going to tie this into your audio work. Did that impact the way that you were writing, knowing that, like, this could be spoken later? I should change it so it sounds like this. Did that have any impact?
No, not really. And I think that's really important for authors to know too, that you don't have to alter your book. If you're planning on turning your book into an audiobook, don't worry about changing what you're writing. If this is what you want to say and it's in the style and the voice that you want to say it in, and that's okay. That's okay. Because the beauty about doing an audiobook is that you do have the freedom to be able to change the way you say something so it fits better for audio. So you do have that. Yes, you are narrating your book. You're, verbatim reading your book, but there are times where it doesn't make sense. I'll give you an example. So, for example, like in my first chapter, it's called "The Eyes Have It." Now, if I just read it verbatim, it would be chapter 1, "The Eyes Have It," and then I have a movie quote, Matt Hooper. It doesn't make much sense for a guy, and on and on. That's very reedy and boring. So you can change it. Just say, chapter 1, "The Eyes Have It." The movie quote that opens this chapter is from the movie Jaws. Throw it in there. You can say that. You can put your personality into it and then go into, whatever you want to say. I mean, even when you do your opening credits, you can say, "Lights, action, you, the guide to master your mindset, overcome work stress, and regain your personal freedom. Written by Robert A. Lane. Narrated by Robert A. Lane. Yes, I am a robot." No, you don't want to sound like that. you know, put your personality in right off the top. "Lights, action, you, the guide to master your mindset, overcome work stress, and regain your personal freedom."
Mm.
Written and narrated by me, Robert A. Lane. You have the freedom to do that. So don't worry about how you wrote your book, because there are ways to get around it to still get exactly what you want to get across, but do it in a way that is enjoyable for the listener.
I love that. So for everyone out there, you don't have to have that sense of perfectionism. Write your
Right.
book, then focus on the audio.
Absolutely.
Love that. Now, speaking of, those kind of small tidbits, are there any other tips that you would like to share with our audience as we start to wind to a close? We don't have to give away the whole program, but
Right.
anything that you like to share with a little bit of teasers or what people can expect when they work with you, those nice, juicy tips.
Well, I love working with authors one-on-one because, again, I know that a lot of these stories are personal and some are pretty intense. And again, feeling comfortable is key. Like, I want the author to feel very comfortable when we have our one-on-one sessions. And I treat every book as if it was my own. I want it to be the best quality that it can be. So I would just say, confidence, just believe in yourself, believe in your voice, love your voice, embrace your voice. It's a wonderful part of your author brand. Love this sound that comes out of your body. It's fine. It's great. And that's what makes you you. That's part of what makes you unique. And the hardest part, I would say, of the program is just the setup and preparation, which really isn't that hard. But once you start getting into the narration, and we do go through it, and I will help you, do a great narration, do a great delivery, and give you a lot of tools that you can utilize to help you stay focused and be conversational. But another important thing is keeping yourself healthy. Hydration. You got to keep yourself hydrated. You're going to have a lot of dry mouth. There's a lot of mouth noise.
Yeah.
So, make sure you're hydrated. And then another big tip is, when you set up your recording space and you're ready to record, be aware of your surroundings. If there's other people in the house, tell them, "Hey, I'm recording," and take away distractions. Put that cell phone in the other room. Don't be distracted. And if you hear something like a plane fly by, or the gardener fires up the lawn, the leaf blower, it happens. Don't get frustrated. Don't worry about it. Just stop, wait for the sound to go away, and then resume. And one more quick tip would be listen to your body. If you feel fatigued, if your voice is getting tired, it's going to pick up. That energy will be picked up. So step away, take a break, get rejuvenated, and then go back. The beauty about setting up your own recording space is that you're doing it on your own timeline.
Yeah. I love that because a lot of those translate to dictation, which I do, and then podcasting, which, that dry mouth. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Robert. So now where can everyone find you and what's coming for you next? Anything else that we can look forward to?
Probably the easiest place is just to go to robertlanecoaching.com. Very simple. robertlanecoaching.com. It has a list of all the articles, the logos of all the articles that I've been featured in, which I'm very thankful for. But if you look at the homepage, it tells you about the program. I have clips of authors, little short audio clips. You can hear how they narrated their audiobook. And again, I'm very proud of every author who's gone through the program. They've done such a great job. And they've used their audiobook to get speaking engagements and to do other things. So it's such a great thing. And the audiobook world is growing and expanding, and it has been over the last several years. So you need to be in that market. But yeah, robertlanecoaching.com. And on Instagram, it's Robert Lane Coaching. On YouTube, it's Robert Lane Coaching. LinkedIn, it's Robert A. Lane. Okay, so it's a little different. But yeah, that'd be the best place to find me. And then there's plenty of places to click book a call. So book your call. I'd love to speak with you.
I love that. Thank you so much. So everyone follow Robert Lane Coaching or Robert A. Lane on LinkedIn, where I love to see all your updates. Thank you so much, Robert, from the How to Write a Book podcast. It has been a pleasure. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the listeners who are going to go to you for their audiobook coaching.
Oh,
thank you again.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to the How to Write a Book podcast. I'm Maciel, here to help you write, pitch, and publish your book. Get expert resources at howtowriteabookpodcast.com. Follow me on Instagram at Maciel Writes. And if you enjoyed the show, leave a review to help more writers find us. Until next time, happy writing.